Here is a riddle for you. Who looks like a playable sim, behaves like one, but doesn't spark any interest to play with them? A uniprime... Sorry, it's just personal. A townie, of course. The answer is a townie. Greetings to everyone! My name is Nadia and you're on my channel called Betty Neddy. This video was requested by some of my subscribers and it's going to be about townies, as you can tell by its title and the riddle I started it with. The video consists of two parts. In the first one, I'll tell you why I play with townies, what townies I play with and how I do that. And the second half is mostly for the recent Pleasant You fans who want to peek into the lives of the townies I play in my Let's Play. So let's get going. First of all, who are townies and why do I play with them? Townies are a type of sims in The Sims 2 who appear on community lots to make them feel alive and populated. Unlike NPCs who perform a certain role and have scripted behaviors, like cleaning your Sims' houses or ringing them up at a cash register, townies are enslaved to any kind of position or type of behavior. They spawn on community lots absolutely randomly, can occasionally walk past your Sims' properties, and can be contacted normally via telephone like your playable characters. They are literally the same as our playable Sims, but yet they are known for being boring and blank. That's because none of them has a story, a house, a bio, no family ties, no preset memories, and they also never have customized faces and tend to be quite unattractive. All of the above makes them redundant and even annoying in most players' eyes. Even more so if you think about the fact that they also take character files from each of your neighborhoods, and unfortunately there is a limit to how many character files we are allowed to have in our game. Basically, you could make your playable Sims procreate for 3 generations more, but thanks to townies who stole over 200 character files from the game, you'll never see those 3 generations. So for most players, the choice is obvious. Never touch those boring and ugly Sims, leave alone making them procreate to steal even more character files. And I'd have the same opinion for the biggest chunk of my simming experience too. But then I started playing generationally in my custom hood called Dirtstone, and I quickly realized I hated the prospect of my Sims marrying their great-grandmother's best friends. It made no sense story-wise, and also, seeing the same faces on community lots over and over again was probably even more annoying than the townies' looks. It was so unfair. My beloved beauties with developed characters were getting old and passing away, and Goopy Gil Scarborough remained young forever. So I created a couple of Sims who I called the Cleaners, moved them into this small house opposite the cemetery, and started using their lot to age my townies up and summoning the Grim Reaper for them. Originally I didn't create any families of townies in Dirtstone, but later on I decided it was absolutely necessary because all my Sims who was a part of 100 Baby Challenge were obviously related to each other, which could cause problems in the long run. So the plan changed to the following. I wanted to send Agatha to college with her best friend Meadow Thayer, where the two girls would meet Stella Tarano and both Meadow and Stella would marry other townies to add some fresh blood to the neighborhood. Now let's sum this part up. I play with townies for the following reasons. 1. I want life to be fair for all my Sims. Every Sim should have the same lifespan, townies included. 2. I want my neighborhood to evolve, and seeing the same townies over and over again doesn't add to the immersion at all. 3. I want to avoid inbreeding, and this requires the townie pool to be regularly refreshed. Of course, the game can generate new townies by itself, but I'd rather play a sim who I feel at least a tiny connection to, not a random Alan Smith number 10. What sounds more exciting? My sim got knocked up by Brandon Lillard and Sandy Brute's son, or my sim got knocked up by this no-name? Of course, I understand that if my townies have families and children, it takes even more character files from the game, and my own dynasty will stop growing one day, but come on, the limit is over 32,000 character files. The game will stop loading way earlier anyway. Now let's move to the next question. What townies I play with? I know there are simmers who play all the townies they have in their neighborhoods, like Annie Betts, for example. But that would be too overwhelming for me, so I pick only some of them. Here is what the choosing process looks like. A. Do some of my sims know this townie? B. Does this townie have recessive genes or interesting facial features? C. Are there other townies who look similar to this one? Will I be able to connect them with each other? Such choosing system helps me to 1. Only play with townies who are important for the story and will occasionally show their faces here and there. 2. Spread recessive genes across the neighborhood because I'm absolutely in love with Max's genetic system. 3. Get new and more interesting looking townies by mixing already existing ones together. Sandy's mouth with Brandon's eyes probably isn't the most beautiful combo, but it's way more unique than a bunch of townies with the first face template who are generated by the game. And 4. It helps me to create new sub-stories using the townies' look-alikeness, the way Marty Core did it in her Townieville, where the townies were merged into families based on their looks. Yes, turns out the townie's blankness can be a perfect canvas to turn the story anywhere you like. For example, in Marty Core's Townieville, Comey Tellerman and Jan Tellerman are siblings because they have the same last name and look somewhat alike. In my Pleasant You Let's Play, Comey is Jan's uncle, and he's a villain because that's what his personality is like. Well, I guess it's time to tell you how I play with townies. Basically, I play them exactly the same way as my playable sims. As for the creation of their stories, I not only rely on their personalities, but also on their randomized skill points, lifetime wants, and career tracks. For example, Jan Tellerman spawned with a lot of skill points, but for me personally she's always looked the youngest of Pleasant You adult townies, so I wrote in her personal bio that she was super talented but lacked ambition in life because she's a lazy and playful Taurus. I also had canoed her father, Comey's older brother, as a super smart military man who died in a battle when Jan was only 4. What was behind such a headcanon? Jan's cargo pants, of course. Another source of inspiration for my townies' stories is their in-game behaviors. For example, when I was playing the nuisance in one of the apartment buildings, their neighbors, Comey Tellerman and Melissa Fancy, were fighting non-stop. And I thought, there should be a reason behind that. So I had canoned Melissa as Comey's ex-wife, who'd been cheating on him for years and even had her son Orlando with a different man. We all know Melissa is a romance sim, so it seemed like a plausible explanation for Comey's aggression towards her. And one of my favorite stories was based entirely on the townie's looks. Daniel Pleasant got interested in a Blue Water Village townie called Andrea Lind after his divorce. And Andrea happened to look like a female version of Guppy Gil-Scarborough. Same face template, same eye and hair color, same skin tone. And at the same time I had this black cheerleader who was hanging out in the fraternity house a lot. And you know what? She also had the same face template and the same hair and eye color. And when it was time to move her somewhere after college, because she'd become quite a prominent figure in the Let's Play, I didn't even have to think twice. She went to live with Andrea, whom I set as her aunt and Guppy's sibling. The story goes like this. Guppy, a romance sim, impregnated his black high school sweetheart when they were barely of age. They had a daughter called Edith, but Guppy got scared by that new responsibility and refused to take part in his daughter's upbringing. But Guppy's parents and youngest sister Andrea were quite friendly towards Guppy's lover and Edith, so when Edith's mother had passed away in a brutal fire which destroyed their house, Andrea, who'd been a widow for quite some time, welcomed her niece into her apartment. As you might have noticed, Guppy, Andrea and Edith all have different last names, so in my story I tried to explain this oddity too. Andrea keeps her deceased husband's last name, and Edith has her mother's one because Guppy broke up with his girlfriend pretty soon after Edith's birth. These were used as examples to show you my way of creating storylines for blank and boring townies. The following part of the video, as promised, is for those of you who watched the recent Pleasant You. Here I'm going to fill you in on what's going on in my half-playables' lives. We'll start with Jan Tellerman, of course, because she was the first townie who I made playable thanks to her relationship with Dawn. She starts the game aged 18, which makes her the same age as most SimState pre-mates. As I said, she's talented but lazy and also has some daddy issues because she's always missed her father since his passing, and now she's looking for his traits in every guy she dates. She's level 4 in her athletics career, but that's only thanks to her pure talent. I don't think she'll go further than level 5. Jan is living in this tiny trailer with her half-sister Tosha Go, who started the game aged 12. This is not entirely correct, because she's originally a teenager, which makes her 1 year older, but I used the fact that we didn't see her anywhere during round 0 to pretend she was still a child at that time. I just really wanted her to be closer in age to Alexander Goth. Jan and Tosha have the same mother but different fathers, which explains their different last names. Tosha's father left the family when Tosha had just turned into a toddler and she barely remembers him. She is Jan's opposite, way more ambitious and independent, but not talented at all. She also treats her sister better than Jan treats her. No wonder she works really hard at the Jacquette's bakery and brings home almost as much money as Jan does. And in spite of all that work, she's still sleeping on the sofa. I hope to move the girls into this trailer next to the Brogues' old place this round. Tosha also wants to get a rich husband, because she really liked their old house, which had been stolen from them after their mother's untimely demise. The man who did that was Jan's uncle Comey, who managed to prove he should have inherited his older brother's house with the help of the local corrupt lawyer, Joe Carr. Needless to say, Tosha absolutely hates Comey, but careless Jan is almost indifferent to him. I don't play Comey himself, he is just a function for Jan and Tosha's stories, but I play his friend Joe Carr. Joe started the game age 38. He spawned with a lifetime want to reach the top of the intelligence career, so I wrote in his bio that he hadn't got there because of his nasty personality, and that rejection had only made him even more bitter. Joe has a bad reputation. Everyone knows he is not fair as a lawyer and he is really greedy. In spite of that, he has a girlfriend who is much younger than him, Robin Laria from Blue Water Village. Her bio explains how she ended up with Joe. They'd lived together in a non-committed relationship for a couple of years, but finally went steady after Robin's unexpected pregnancy. Joe, who's already in his 40s, is very happy to have an heir, but Robin, who's a bit of a wild chick, regrets her mandatory commitment to Joe. By the way, she started the game aged 25, which means she is the same age as Dawn, and she works in the law enforcement. Both Joe and Robin suspect their neighbor Dustin Broke might be a criminal, but as nobody paid Joe to investigate it, he isn't trying to do anything about it, and Robin doesn't feel well enough to think about her job. The second half playable who was added into the rotation was Benjamin Long. He was 29 years old at the start of the game, and his original fashion choices made me think he should be poor. As you can tell by his wants panel, he was at college but didn't finish his education because of the lack of finances. Now he works in the natural science career track and he's really passionate about plants. His lifetime want is to harvest 2,000 best quality garden produce. As for his relationship with Nina, he is only into her physically, but doesn't feel any emotional attraction. One of Benjamin's neighbors, Sebastian Ma from Sim State University, has also been turned into a half-playable because he's friend with Sam Thomas and was really following Jimmy Phoenix everywhere. I haven't played him yet, but I know for sure that I want him to be in the intelligence career because of his spying tendencies. There is also this hidden apartment building in Pleasant View, where I have Orlando Chalmers, one of Heather Huffington's lovers, Zach Wilson from Blue Water Village, who is Jason Larson's co-worker, and the Tsvirkunov household. Let's start with Orlando. He is the same age as Brittany Upsnot and Ashley Pitts, and he's employed in the show business career. He's a very selfish and jealous guy who wants to have a ton of lovers but expects them to be faithful to him. Zach Wilson spawned with a very weird combo. He was on the 8th or the 9th level in the science career track, but had the lifetime want to become a
prestidigitator.
So I had Canon Zach, who is currently only 32, as an insecure overachiever with a lot of inner doubts and unrealistic ideas about himself. Zach is interested in Marissa Bendet, and I want to move her in with him at the end of this round. Finally, the Tsvirkunov household consists of Sierra, her adopted daughter Diane, and Joan Baena, who is Sierra's best friend's daughter who's recently lost her mother. Sierra is my favorite Blue Water Village townie, so I simply couldn't resist playing her again. She is currently 49 years old and she works in the adventurer career. According to her bio, she's really shy and absolutely unflirty, so she's never been in a romantic relationship. She adopted Diane to keep her company, but her daughter turned out to be so different from her. Diane is now 20 and she's quite a party animal who's already got under Orlando Chalmers' spell. She works in politics. As for Joan, she's a very ambitious girl who's currently feeling really low after her mother's passing. She is grateful to Sierra for helping her but can't wait to leave her place and start making her own living. I don't know if you spotted that or not, but the ladies in this household don't look like they usually do. That's because they used to look too much like other half-playables, so I modified their faces using the Gussy Up mod. Now let's move to Townies living in Blue Water Village. You already know Andrea Lynn's and Edith Benson's stories, so I will only add that Edith is the same age as most Sim State premades, and Andrea started the game age 31. She works in the slacker career and she's obsessed with famous Sims and fortune telling. Her neighbor is none other than Tammy Keane, Gordon Keane's sister, whose face also got modified to make her resemble her brother more. She is now 27, she's employed at Malcolm Landgram's electronics store, but her dream is to become a police officer. Unfortunately, it will never come true thanks to the fact that her brother is a known criminal. Tammy is a lesbian and she's recently met Brianna Custer, who's got a crush on her. Brianna is 1 year older than Don Lothario. She's a free-spirited and easygoing woman who likes trying everything new and exciting. She was genuinely in love with Gilbert Jacquet, but his cheating on Florence made her realize he was too unreliable and she moved on to Tammy. I hope this round Tammy will reciprocate and I'll move the girls together. Gilbert Jacquet used to have another lover, Trina Dalton. One look at Trina's appearance was enough to conclude she was very pure and naive. Her bio says she was brought up by her very strict and religious grandma. That's why after she'd realized she was pregnant from Gilbert, she got so ashamed of herself, she even quit her job. Trina had a daughter called Ursula, and with her roommate's help, her roommate was Tammy Keane, managed to raise her daughter without having a job. Tammy also introduced Trina to her ex-co-worker Toby Kuderk, and the two got married very soon. Both Trina and Toby are Don's age, they're both very shy and quite religious, so they make a very good couple. Toby was brought up in an orphanage, he's really keen on fixing broken objects, so I made him a local repairman, alongside his regular job at the Tinker's store. Toby used to live with Ray Wee, and I haven't moved Ray out yet. The two guys didn't particularly get along because Ray is a very loud guy who wants to be famous. He's the same age as Tammy Keane and Chester Geek. As you know, he's currently employed as a DJ at Malcolm Landgrab's nightclub, and he is really trying to impress everyone with his crazy expensive suit. This round I'm going to change his outfit to something more stylish and suitable for his occupation. And yes, Ray's and Trina's faces also went through some modifications, because Trina used to be yet another girl with the second face template, and Ray shared his face with Orlando Chalmers. So this round I need to do one thing. Make all the modified faces genetic for my townies using SimPE. Unfortunately, I don't know what to do with little Ursula, who inherited her mother's non-modified features. I'll probably change her eyes and eyebrows once she becomes a child. And also, Ursula's name starts with U. She takes part in the naming convention I have for my playable Sims. That's because I originally planned Ray, Toby, Tammy, Trina and Brianna to be fully playable, because they're always present on the Blue Water Village employers' relationship panels, the same way as Kaylin Langerak is present on Don's and Daniel's and Gordon Keane on Dustin's. So all the babies born from these 5 Sims will continue taking part in the main naming convention, while Joe and Robin's child, for example, will be named after one of the townies I'll get rid of this round. And this is all I have to say about the townies in The Sims 2 and the way I play them. The video is titled Townies to play or not to play, and for me personally the answer is to play. I fully understand those simmers who choose not to mix up with townies, but I want full immersion, so having immortal townies in the game is not an option for me. And what do you do with townies in your game? Are they allowed to procreate? Do you ever change their faces to make them more unique? Feel free to write in the comments. Thank you very much for watching this video. See you next time.